Welcome back to day 3 of my 75 hard challenge. I talked yesterday about how I spent 9 months working on my art really hard and really going for it on my social media platforms. And this was actually the sketchbook that I worked in the most that year. So I thought it'd be fun to do a flip through. It's not complete. I should probably finish. There's like 4 pages left. I really should finish this sketchbook, but I thought it'd be fun to flip through and talk about a couple of the paintings in here. Okay, guys, this is the sketchbook. I didn't complete it. I'm like so close to completing it. I've got 5 pages left. 5 pages that I need to complete. So hopefully I will get to those eventually. I've been really into my toned sketchbook lately, so I haven't come back to the white pages yet, but I really should just to finally consider this sketchbook complete. But this is the sketchbook that I actually used through 2023, and it's kind of sentimental to me. There's a lot of growth that happens in this book, and you'll see that as we page through it. Oh, and just in case anyone's wondering, this is a Strathmore sketchbook. I can link it down in the description in case you're looking to get one yourself. It has watercolor paper in it, so the pages are really nice and thick, and they don't bleed through if you use like markers, paints, pens, whatever on them. It's been a really nice sketchbook. I would buy this again. So on page 1, we've got some font text kind of typography thing that I tried out. I definitely could use some work on my typography and also in my craftsmanship. This was just the first thing. I had not been working in a sketchbook on paper, just painting in general, for a very long time. But my goal was just to practice, to try and see what happened. I had a lot of fun with it. It was kind of like this retro theme that I had going on and bright fun colors. And it was a good start to the page because it kind of set the tone for the whole sketchbook, dream big, and that's exactly what I was doing, was dreaming big. So going on to the next page, these cows were actually my first very successful series of painting. And I felt really proud of this page. I had not really kind of worked across on a spread before. That was something new to me and I wanted to try, and I really would like to try to utilize the whole entire spread in a painting one day. I still have kind of just stuck to this side or that side, and these paintings kind of do that, but they do flow together. They aren't intertwined per se, but like they're all cows. They clearly are a series that go together. But what I forgot to mention is that first page was gouache, and that was my very first time ever attempting gouache. I'd actually found some student grade gouache in my classroom, and I'd never even heard of gouache before. So I just gave it a try, and you can tell that I really didn't know what I was doing with gouache because I used it very opaquely. I didn't realize that you could actually water it down and kind of use it like watercolor. Like, I was completely experimenting, and just the amount of growth that happened with my use of gouache by the second page blew me away. I like, even when I look at this now, I am so proud of these cows, even though I think I could do them better now. I think they're so cute and so fun. I particularly love this one. I just want to like boop them in the nose. So moving on to the next page, those cows gave me a lot of confidence that I had no business having because I attempted portraits. You can see here, I am not very good at portraits. I have a lot of work to do, a lot of learning to do, but practice makes progress. So even though I wanted every page in this book to feel beautiful and perfect and crafted, I decided to use the sketchbook the way it was intended, and I practiced some faces. I think this one was actually pretty good. Ironically, that was the first one I did, and then the rest were quite strange. But this page I actually really like, even though the skin tone is terribly done, and if I were to redo this painting, I would do it quite differently. But I learned a lot, and I like that I pushed myself to try something out of my comfort zone, which was 1, a portrait, painting a portrait, and then 3, doing some more unique colors, I guess, like not very realistic colors. That's something that I had not dabbled with before. And you can tell that I had the right idea, like the highlights and the shadows, using like the yellows and the blues. But I just got to kind of work on the blending and picking the right colors. I think because I didn't know what I was doing, the colors kind of got muddied. So if I did that again, I would do it differently. I never actually came back to this painting. The shirt is still not done. It totally intimidated me. It was just a white shirt, which, now thinking about it, I could have painted it any color, but I was intimidated by painting all those shadows on that fabric. So never got done, never came back to that. This page, this was a total accident by me. Some water spilt with dirty paint water, but I started dabbling with some flowers, nothing too special here, but was again experimenting with gouache and experimenting with composition. I liked the way that the flowers came out of the frame and had that crisp edge around it. I really should have played with that a bit more, but I took that into this drawing as well, started playing with material, going away from the gouache for a moment and trying out some pen and just experimenting with line work and shadowing with just a pen. And then again, playing with that composition of having your subject come out of the frame. I really enjoy that. I actually, now seeing this, want to maybe bring some of that back into my work because I think it looks really nice. Okay, going on to the next page, I've got some sea animals. I did a whale shark and then a humpback whale. Clearly, when I do the spreads, I like to make them kind of match if I can, or kind of have the same theme. I think it's actually pretty cool seeing these two whales right next to each other because they are done in totally different styles. I can just see so much growth. If you've looked at any of my paintings recently, I'd be curious if you comment down below if you see the growth as well. These feel a little juvenile to me. Clearly still learning the medium of gouache, which is what this one was again. This one was a watercolor, which I had some new watercolor pans that I was trying out and was experimenting with those. And I love that this one was an attempt at realism. Let's be real though, it's not realism whatsoever. It's quite cartoony. And then this one, not abstract, but I guess just more illustrative, more expressive. I had a lot of fun with this one and just experimenting and adding that yellow to kind of complement the blue, I think was very successful. So yeah, I like this one a lot. This one, it's very cute. It was a good attempt. I would do it very differently if I tried again. Suddenly this sketchbook tour has turned into a personal critique of my own work, and I'm critiquing myself, I guess. On this page, I've got a flamingo that I never finished. Seems to be the theme. I kind of just, if I get bored, don't finish things. But what I was experimenting with here was the water. That was actually what my big focus was. I was trying to see if I could create realistic looking fuzzed out backgrounds. While it seems like that would be the simpler part, the flamingo I found was actually easier for me, and trying to find those abstract shapes in the water with paint and make them fuzz out and not have harsh lines is very difficult. At least for me it is. If you look at my recent painting that I posted of like the coffee cup and the Christmassy kind of window, I struggled so much with that, with like this fabric blanket that's in the side. You know what? Hang on, let me grab it. This fabric right here, I struggled so much with that fabric and I still don't think it looks that great. So making these soft edges, these folds, these like soft abstract shapes, something I need to work on, something that I am still practicing. So that was the intention of that painting. This little guy, he's very special to me. He's not a very special looking painting, but I had just put up in my stories, what should I paint tonight, with a little DM question, and my dad particularly responded with a cricket. And I love giving him paintings. I always love painting for him. He was a huge cheerleader with my art career. And so I painted that cricket. And I think he turned out cute. I liked the little hat that I gave him. It felt like trying to be creative. Typically, I do more just studies and very much follow my reference photos. So I liked that I kind of added my own little twist to it. This page is awful. Don't know what happened here. I'd like to say this is proof that reference photos are very, very important. I tried to just paint off the cuff, and I mean, the proof is right here in the paper. That is without a reference photo. Terrible. This was when I got my first 1,000 followers on Instagram, on my last page, actually. That took me a lot longer than it did on this page, and I was so excited. So I thought it would be cute just to make like a little thank you, to say thank you to my followers and celebrate that 1,000 number. It was a huge milestone for me. Sketchbooks are really cool because they're kind of like a little diary, and they trigger memories for me. Like when I see certain paintings or I see certain drawings, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember where I was and what I was doing when I drew that. And I mention that because I know that I worked on this while I was in an airport getting ready to go to Nashville, which was in summertime, which I was not pregnant then. So I misspoke yesterday and earlier. My memory must be foggy from this postpartum era that I'm in. This whole sketchbook was the whole year of 2023. No, it was the whole year of 2022. it's good to label your sketchbooks. And now I understand why artists do that, because clearly I'm confused. I do understand now, though. This sketchbook is from 2022 to 2023 with a couple of 2024 paintings and drawings in there. Guys, postpartum fog is real. If you are a mother, please comment below if this has happened to you, where it's like, I can't even remember my own name sometimes, let alone, I guess, my own experiences. So I apologize. I don't mean to mislead you guys. I'm just really, really foggy right now, and coffee's not enough. Anywho, this painting started, when I look at it now, started to kind of show me that I really do like bold colors and texture. And that was starting to show up a lot in my paintings. This was just a fun sketch that I did of a reference photo, practicing perspective, but also just trying to see how I felt about doing like very tedious, detailed drawings, which after doing this, mad respect for anyone who loves it, not my thing. This painting was a lot of fun for me. I challenged myself to not draw a sketch before I did the painting. I wanted to just see what I could do if I just put brush to paper, no pre-planning out the sketch. I did use a reference photo. Of course I used a reference photo, but I wanted that challenge. I wanted to see if I could do it. And I think, of course, there's room for improvement always, like this little strange line here that I tried to erase and scrub out with my brush. But overall, I think it went very well. I learned a lot. I was quite impressed, even though they're not, again, super realistic and definitely not anatomically correct. Comment below if you think otherwise, but I think you can tell these are hands that are like holding the little chicks, and I like the expressiveness of their feathers and that it's kind of loose and has some splatters everywhere that just naturally came into the painting. So that one was a lot of fun. This one, again, learning lots. This sketchbook, I feel like this is when I really just started taking myself seriously as an artist and trying to refine my craft. And if you watched yesterday's video, then you'll know what some of my old art looked like. And I have come a long way, but I still have a long way to go. And I think there was improvement from these birds to the last two that I did in this sketchbook, and we'll get to those later. But this is where the iconic texture that I do, I feel like really started to make its debut. I was really playing with layering my texture and adding those strokes on top to create that featheriness. And I didn't know what I was doing while I did it, but once I had made this painting, there was no going back. I was definitely adding more texture to all of my stuff. This page, first one, I feel like there's been in the book so far that they're not connected, just kind of what I felt like doing. This was another one of those paintings where I was trying to focus on the background and trying to create that blurry kind of water texture. I think it was much more successful than the flamingo painting. Playing with objects coming out of frame, I really enjoyed doing that. And this one, I didn't intend for it to, but it kind of gives me Studio Ghibli vibes. Maybe that's insulting to people who are like hardcore Studio Ghibli fans, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. This one, super simple, just found a reference photo that I really enjoyed. I like the complementary colors of the pinky red color in the background with the green cactus, so I just felt the need to capture it in my sketchbook. And then I'm not sure if it was one of these two paintings or if this was the first painting, but I started a channel and it was by an artist. I believe her name was Sabina Fenn. I will link her down in my description, her Instagram handle. But she was doing like a 30-day painting challenge and I really wanted to participate. So I believe the first one was like Italian or something like that, or car. I don't remember, but I know that I did want to paint like an Italian style car. So I did, and I thought it was kind of fun to like put what the people were seeing in the windows, but I didn't include it actually in the background. Don't know if that was my best idea or not. But what I did with all of these paintings that they all have in common, and that's why they look so different from all of these, was I decided I was not going to sketch. And again, that was inspired by this guy. So I wanted to practice getting faster at painting, and I wanted to practice becoming more confident in my brush strokes. So the next few paintings, and I'll let you know when that stops, I did not sketch whatsoever. But I started getting a little stressed out because I was still a teacher at the time. And you'll see later in these paintings, they get really rough because I started to rush them and I didn't put in the time that I needed to make them quality pages, and they don't look good. It's almost like I regressed, like I got worse at art. You'll see what I mean. They're really embarrassing. But anyways, so the next one, again, no sketching, was this little porcupine dude. I really don't remember what these prompts were. I would have to look them up to show you. I'll put them in the comments in case you're curious. If you ever go to my old page, it's still up. I didn't shut it down. There's a lot of reels showing these paintings. And there was a funny one I did for this because it was basically making fun of like sometimes you make great work and sometimes your work is crap. And that's how I felt about this guy. I thought that the drawing was done really well. I did the inking afterwards, but the painting itself was just meh at best. I was really struggling to get these stripes to look like they were iridescent and purpley because that's how they looked on the animal. I was struggling to make them look like they were actually rounded around the leg. That's something that was not really working for some reason, that cross contour. And my color choices, I think, were actually good, but like I just didn't really put them in the best spots. I don't know. Something wasn't working with this painting. It was actually a lot of fun to do. And again, experimenting with color. Glad I pushed myself, but I don't think this is really my style or the direction I needed to go. Whereas like this painting, well, every time I get more like realistic, illustrative, but not like pop arty, cartoony, then I think things work for me. I don't know. My brain just is more successful on this side. But yeah, I did some pancakes. I thought they were a lot of fun. Again, no sketching with this one, which I was really proud of. I thought it was quite tough to get the pancakes all lined up and get those shadows where they needed to be without planning them out at first with a sketch. So I was very happy that they turned out the way they did. These are still some more paintings from that prompt list that I was telling you about from Sabina Fenn. I believe this one was like clouds or something like that. I once again never painted clouds. A little bit of an unsuccessful night sky cloud painting, but that's what this guy was. This one I liked a lot. I feel like this is something that I should actually dive back into with some food illustrations. There's a lot I would do differently now that I've tried it before, but I really liked the cucumber and the shadowing that I got with the watercolors. I thought that the little avocado slices looked really nice. Once again, failing at painting fabric, but hoping to get better at that one day. I do want to give myself a little credit though. I was trying to make these paintings quick. I was trying to learn to be efficient with my paint strokes. I was only spending about 40 minutes, I would say, per painting, which sounds like a long time, but it really isn't. I'd say my average painting in my sketchbook now, I spend about 5 to 7 hours on. So 40 minutes is really quick for me. These two paintings, I guess you could say the theme is black and white. This one was just a reference photo that I liked. Once again, playing with that rectangular composition. I really should try a different shape. Clearly, I've done a lot of the rectangles, but a little bit more successful with the fabric. There was a lot of fabric here. I realized I needed to work on that, so that's what drew me to this reference photo. It gave me an opportunity to practice that. Every painting that I do, I try to do with some kind of intention, and the intention here was again to keep practicing the fabric. I did that again with this painting, which this one is very funny to me. I'll insert the photo that it is from, but this is my husband and I. We had a wedding that we went to. Sounds weird. We're ghosts, right? But this wedding was a Halloween wedding. They were two very good friends of ours, and you were requested to dress up in a costume, not in regular wedding attire. And this was the year where everyone was doing that ghost, like sheet ghost trend. So we went as sheet ghost with sunglasses for her wedding, which we loved. I had a lot of fun. Maybe I'll insert a video of what that actually looked like at the wedding. We're nearing the end of the school year, is what some of these paintings were. And with tidying up the classroom, getting all the grades in, making sure that I've reached all of the objectives for the year and that my students are on pace where they should be, my paintings needed to take like a back seat. I had a couple other priorities. So because of that, I still committed to painting every day, but I definitely wasn't spending 40 minutes on these paintings. This one was probably like 10, and this is where I need to really develop my style, because here I was just relying on some pretty juvenile techniques of just adding some watercolor shading and then drawing over it with ink. But I feel like if I had done this again, I could add a little bit more realistic texture, like maybe shading closer to the center of the flower to make it darker versus lighter. I've proven that I know how to do that, but when I'm working, like for example in this drawing, but yeah, I need to clearly develop my style so that I kind of have something to fall back onto. Because when I'm pressed for time, I get these very simple lackluster paintings that lack style. They don't have any personality. They don't have any expression to them. They're not me. This one, while I once again rushed it, I thought turned out a little bit better. I decided to go away from the ink outlines and just let it be plain watercolor. And I kind of like that soft look that it ended up getting. If I had more time, I would have developed the shadows a little bit more, but I think this one turned out actually okay for how fast I did it. Then it got insane. Like, I started doing like 5-minute watercolor paintings. I was committed to finishing this challenge, but oh my goodness, in the name of painting every day, even if I had absolutely no time at all, I made some really terrible paintings, which at least I showed up to the page. That's what I would say. It's more important to show up to the page than to make masterpieces every day. And I decided not to be so precious about my sketchbook, even though I had some things in here that I absolutely loved. And I showed up to the page. So I've got some animal studies that I did, once again experimenting with adding line, taking away the line. Decided going away from line was better. These paintings were all taking me about 10 to 20 minutes max. I was really, really pressed for time and just trying to do them before my workday started, honestly. I got a dragonfly. I had some little sandy toes, which I really like these toes, actually. I always really enjoyed drawing feet, which is ironic because I absolutely hate feet. Like, don't put your feet near me. But I find them very interesting to draw and to paint. So these were kind of fun to do, actually. I would probably try this one again just to see if it turned out a little bit better. And then the page of shame. The page of shame. Each of these paintings, I believe, was 3 to 5 minutes max. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think it was about 3 to 5 minutes max. The goal was to show up to the page and get it done. What did I do? I got it done. So, not much to say about that. This little guy included, which this is the last of those weird paintings. I just quit on this one altogether. I didn't like how it was coming together. The fur texture wasn't turning out right. He kind of looked like one of those little fuzzy ducks or chicks that I made earlier. So I just scrapped this one, said I'll come back to learning how to paint fur with watercolor on another day, but that day was not today. More unfinished paintings. This one was just a Pinteresty photo that I'd found. Oh no, another page. I think that makes six pages I have to finish. I decided to take a break from the watercolors. All these watercolor paintings were because of that Sabina Fenn challenge. It was a watercolor challenge. And get back to my gouache. And I believe this is when I bought my first Himi gouache set, like the very first one I ever bought. And I was so excited because I finally could get back to what I was comfortable with, which, if you remember, in the very beginning of the book, it's that punchy, bold color. Like that is where I thrive. And that's what I got to do when I got back to this page. So I had found this reference photo of these blue cups. I was just enamored with this photo. I loved the reflections and the shadows and the bold color. And so I just had to capture it in my sketchbook. And this is like a page that, once again, I see so much that I would do differently and that I would improve, like maybe adding an ellipse to this cup. It's like completely missing. But I'm very proud of this page. I still really do like it. This painting, I think we could see a lot of improvement in the bird department compared to those green birds that I'd done before. But this one was done with gouache. And this is when I kind of learned that I could use gouache both as a watercolor and as a really opaque kind of paint. So I had done a I had done an underpainting and then started working on top of it, trying to take in some more traditional technique and not just going for it, but actually trying to do what I knew how to do. And I think this little kingfisher, he turned out really good. I actually really love the blues and the whites and the feathers. I think they turned out quite successful. It got a little bit muddy in here, but overall, I really like the way this guy turned out. This painting, I would argue, is my favorite. This is my favorite. I don't know if it's anyone else's favorite. Anyone I ask, it's not their favorite, but it is my favorite painting in the sketchbook. More than the cows? Yeah, more than the cows. I love the cows, but I love this painting. 1, it's weird. It's of an egg. 2, I think I nailed it with this color when it comes to like the creamy, pinky kind of brown color that you see on an eggshell sometimes. Like, that was a very tough color, and I feel like I nailed it with this. This was done again with those Himi gouache paints. I love the simplicity of the egg. I think the shadow, of course, could have been done better and maybe cleaning up like the white that's back here. But what I love about this painting is the pink underpainting that I did. While maybe the painting itself is not that great, the pinky purpley background just makes it for me and it makes it very fun. It was inspired by this artist on Instagram. I'll pop her name up on the screen that does lots of paintings with this kind of vibe, and I was really inspired by her work to try it. So I did the pink underpainting. This one was done a little more recently. I painted this bird as like one of the first things for coming back this year, actually, after having my son and deciding that I really did want art in my life. And I've got many videos talking about that whole journey. I'm not going to get into it here, but this was one of the first things that I did. And I was actually really surprised by this bird because I had taken 15 months off of painting, and this is what I came back with, which is major improvement from like the first pages in this book. And to see that those paintings were done by me a year prior, to take a year off and to come back, and I had not really lost any of that knowledge. I had actually improved and kept that improvement, was really exciting. And I could tell that I was really retaining what I'd learned from all these other paintings. And yeah, I think it turned out really nice. And this last drawing is not Baby A's feet, contrary to popular belief. This is just a reference photo that I found, but I was itching to create the day before I was induced with Baby A. And so I went and looked for some baby feet, just a little reference photo of some feet, because obviously with a new baby on the way, that's kind of what was on my mind. And I decided to keep it very simple. If you haven't noticed, I paint every single time I touch one of my pages, and I thought to myself, why do I have to get paint out every time? Yes, I love to paint. I consider myself a painter, but I know how to draw too, and it's a lot cleaner, a lot faster to set up. It's just grabbing a pencil and a pencil sharpener, maybe, and a big time saver. When I'm stressed and feeling like I don't have a lot of time to create, I need to remind myself, and I feel like a lot of other artists need to remind themselves too, that it doesn't have to be this big to do. You just need a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. You don't need these elaborate setups. You don't need all the paint colors and the water and the mix-ins and yada, yada, yada. Like, just a pencil will do and will help you show up to the page. And that's what this drawing was for me, is reminding myself to show up to the page in even the simplest of ways. And it actually is more successful than when I attempted paint in some of these pages. So yeah, the rest of the pages in this book are blank. That is my 2022 to 2024 sketchbook, I guess. I should probably write that on the spine or something since I got myself all confused. But yeah, thanks for tuning in for day 3. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time.